is Antoine with another episode of Out and Up, where we encourage young athletes to achieve their very best outside of the game. And like every show, we're blessed to have another awesome guest. And y'all know how I do. I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Yessenia. I'm 18 and I'm a softball player at the University of Central Florida.
Cool, Yessenia, you ready to get into the questions?
Yes.
All right, let's start from the beginning. Where you originally from, born and raised?
Um, I was born in New York, but I'm raised in South Florida. I was born in New York, but I'm from like the Fort Lauderdale area around Plantation.
Okay, all right. So did you spend a lot of time in New York or not much?
Not a lot. We go back and visit a lot though. All my family's down there, that's home. But we moved for my dad for his job and stuff. So we've been down there for my whole life.
All right. So you say you're a softball player for Central Florida. When did you actually get into sports? Like, did you play any other sports in your youth?
I did everything under the sun. I did ballet, I danced, soccer, everything. But my siblings played softball, so around like maybe the age of 8, I think, is when I started softball and I stuck with it.
Okay. So were there any other sports that you enjoyed just as much as softball?
I loved volleyball. I had so much fun. I played a little bit in middle school. Obviously didn't stick with it, but I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Okay. And so you say you played volleyball in middle school actually also?
Yeah.
All right. What position did you play in volleyball?
So they just put me in the front and told me to block whatever I could and just just do whatever I could up there.
All right. All right. So with softball, at what point did you really kind of lock in and start really putting a lot of time to growing your game in softball?
Definitely around the age of like 12, 13. That's kind of when you're just starting to get out of, the rec and you're starting to grow up a little bit. That's when I definitely locked in and said that this was something I wanted to go far with in my career.
All right. So at an early age, what are some things you did to really try to grow your game in softball?
Honestly, I just went out and had as much fun as I could. I tried to be as versatile as possible. I tried everything. I tried every position on the field, trying to figure out what I enjoyed the most, and whatever I enjoyed the most was what I said I was gonna do, honestly. And obviously, I became a pitcher, and I had the most fun out there. So I try to get the best at that.
All right. So at rec age, were there some other positions in volleyball? I mean, sorry, in softball that you enjoy playing?
It's funny now, but I used to catch too, and I loved it. I still love it. It's not really my calling now, but when I was younger, I loved to catch. I thought it was the most fun thing ever, but it's not for me now, but I loved it.
Okay. So at what point did you start? I would assume playing at this high level. At some point, you started playing some travel ball. When did you start playing travel ball?
Travel ball, I started around like 13, 14, right after kind of I figured I wanted to go far with pitching.
Okay, so at that age, what was it like being able to travel and play? Like, what was that experience like?
It was definitely different. Traveling, it's a lot on your body, especially being young. You miss out on a lot uh, in your school friends and stuff. But I enjoyed it so much that I didn't really mind. It was a lot of fun being able to travel with my friends. I loved my team, with my family, and I got to see so many new places because of my sport. And I was just so blessed, honestly, to be able to travel as much as I did at that age.
Okay, so at that age, were you able to? Did you do it? You say you were able to see a lot of different places. Were you able to travel outside of the state, or was it kind of locally right in the Florida area?
It was more locally at that age. The older I got, the further I went. But at that age, it was more locally, kind of close to home things, more 2, 3 hour road trips.
All right, all right. So as you begin to get through middle school, move on to high school, at what point would you say you noticed, or was it early on that you noticed you had an opportunity to play at a high level?
I'd say, middle school is when I knew like I wanted to do it. But when I got into my freshman year of high school is when, obviously that's when everyone's growing up, things people get older, and when you're a freshman in high school, it's an even playing field. You're playing against the seniors, the juniors, and everyone. So I knew that I was able to compete, and I knew that I wanted to do it. So that's kind of when I realized like I had the opportunity and I had to take it.
All right. So I always like to on the show just talk and give information for the young athletes, and so they'll see what it takes to play at a high level. So I want to even talk about that middle school or that age where you were really busy with travel ball. Like, how did you keep a balance between your academics and traveling and the time that it took traveling?
I think it's definitely a lot. It's an adjustment, at that age. I was blessed that I had a team where we were very focused and driven, especially at such a young age. We had a lot of fun, but we all held each other accountable. Our parents wouldn't let us really do much if our homework wasn't done or things like that. So we all knew like, you gotta get your stuff done so that we can play the game that we love. Softball was something that was so much fun for us that we were willing to, do whatever it took to just be able to get to play. So, our academics it wasn't really a chore to us. It was something that gave us an opportunity to play softball. So, we got it done, and it was really good to keep each other accountable at a young age too.
That's good. Did that pretty much carry on into high school? Like, was there a big transition as you got into high school and the practices and still keeping the balance with your academics and your athletics?
Yeah, I think kind of the mindset of it stays the same. I just think the workload grew a lot, in both aspects. The sport, practices and time I spent on the field grew, and then academics, obviously, more classes, more homework, more things like that. But as that grew, my love for the game grew also. So it really just all evened out the older I got.
Okay. All right. Did you pretty much play once you started playing travel ball? Did you pretty much stay with the same club, the same team, or were there some different teams that you played with in your early in your career?
So I'm actually I my younger career was a little different. My sister coached me my whole career, and my parents did too. So we stayed together through and through until I graduated high school. So I have been with the same girls since I was like a baby, and in the same
Wow.
organization and stuff. So we started off for a Power Black organization, and then we merged with another team to go into Florida Gold. And I've been with Florida Gold my whole life. She still coaches that team, which is great too. So when I go back home, I get to kind of be with that team, and it's really nice. I love it. I loved being on the same team. It was a lot of not a lot of change, and we got to grow up together and then graduate together. So it was a really good story that I got to be a part of.
Wow. So it's kind of tough to even ask this question because it sounded like you had a very good experience. But I was gonna ask, you said you have family, that play softball. So was there some pros and some cons? Like, were there some challenges that having family that did it ahead of you?
Yeah, definitely challenges. Obviously being the coach's kid, it's hard because softball was our life. Like at home, it was softball talk. It was just 24/7. But I think that also makes me the player I am now because I look at the game very technical and I look at all sides of it. I'm only one person, but when I go home, my sister, she's worrying about 16 girls. So I kind of got to bring that into my perspective, and makes me a better teammate at the end of the day too. So I learned a lot from her. It was definitely hard. My sister, especially she's not my mom or my dad, she's my sister. So we fought a lot, a lot, and it was tough. But I'm super grateful for everything that came out of it. With all those fights, I definitely learned a lot. So it always comes out better in the end.
All right. So for the young athlete, young lady that's looking to play at a high level, how important is it to get involved in travel ball?
I I would say it's one of the most important things for them. I think it teaches them so much, and it's such a great thing at a young age to be exposed to so many different athletes. You can kind of get stuck when you stay in your little realm and your area. You know, if you have the opportunity to go out and travel and compete against different players, it's just great for your image, and it's also good for your for publicity. You know, getting your name out there. You know, you never know who's there. You never know who's watching. So it's just, I think it's one of the most important things for an athlete.
Okay. So in playing travel ball, you're early in your college career, but have you even in your first year come across some of the young ladies that you may have played with locally in travel ball, or do you keep in touch with some of them that have gone on to play for other colleges?
Yeah, we are luckily we were all really close and made some great friendships. But I after every game I get a text from at least one or two of my past players that we're watching. I try to keep up with them as much as possible too. You know, it's really fun and humbling to be able to see, you know, your friend out there on TV on ESPN Plus, you know, playing. So it's really great. You know, those are friendships that you have for a really long time.
All right, all right. So as you're getting through your years in high school, at what point did you start kind of looking at or trying to decide where you wanted to head or further your career? Or when did even the recruiting process start for you?
Yeah. So this for softball, you know, there's a couple rules. You can't really speak to a college coach until you know your junior year, but you can go to camps and things. So I started, I think, going to camps. I think about the end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year. That was the
Okay.
time that I really got into like looking for a school to go to when I graduate. I started going to camps, and then my junior year is when I was finally able to be able to talk to them and, you know, kind of get a consensus of what they were thinking about me and kind of how I liked the school. So that kind of time period was really big for my class also.
All right. So as the process started for you, did you have an idea already where you wanted to go? Were you pretty open and just had a mindset of what you were looking for in schools?
Yeah, I would definitely say I just had a mindset of what I was looking for. You know, I knew I wanted something family oriented, a team that was gonna make me improve, and that I had something to give to the team also. I try to keep a really open mind. You know, you're in a very vulnerable state in a recruiting process because, you know, you're one out of a million athletes. Um, but you know, you are special to a certain program. So it's just, you know, that program could be close to home, it could be far from home, but it's out there. So I try to remind myself, you know, that I'm meant to be somewhere, and whether it's close or not, whether it's a school I thought I would go to or a school I didn't even know existed, you know, it was there for me. So just keeping an open mind, being a sponge and taking in all of the experience I could.
Okay. All right. So for the young lady watching, whether it's a middle schooler or a high schooler, like what are some things that help to keep you grounded? Like as you saw your career picking up and you saw that you would have the opportunities to play on a next level, what are some things that help keep you focused and grounded?
Yeah, I think it definitely gets a little overwhelming. So, you know, in those times when you're feeling a little overwhelmed, I always try to remind myself of kind of my why, kind of why I was in the sport, why I decided to do it, you know, why I enjoy it so much. Because, you know, in times like that, it gets a little tough to keep pushing through. So I would just remind myself kind of why, who I'm doing it for, if I'm doing it for myself, just kind of ground myself a little bit, and talk about it honestly, because being an athlete, it can be mentally, it can be a lot, especially at a young age. You're exposed to so much, and you know those are some of the cons too from, you know, travel ball, high school. You know, it's great the exposure, but it can be a lot on a kid at a young age. So just talking about it, you know, to whoever, your teammates, your family, just kind of expressing how it's making you feel and just, you know, getting it out because sometimes you just need that a little bit.
All right, that's good. So I want to ask, what were some other schools that kind of made it into that final decision?
Yeah, I so September 1st is the day that D1 colleges can reach out to athletes. So that day I was blessed to have multiple schools reach out to me, and it was a really amazing opportunity. But I actually had my heart set on UCF from the day. So there were other schools out there that had reached out to me and maybe piqued some interest, but I committed that day, that on the spot. So kind of within hours of that kind of time period that I was able to commit, I did. So it's a different experience for sure. I'm blessed that I was able to know where I wanted. I knew that all the schools were amazing, but I knew where I wanted to be, and it was UCF. So
That's
it's yeah.
all right, all right. So on your current team where you're at, did you have anybody that you may have played in your earlier career in high school or travel ball? Is there anybody else that also went to UCF that you know?
Um, people that I played with, no, but
Uh,
I did. One of my catcher now, she's a sophomore here. She was kind of around in my high school years. My Another pitcher was around in my high school years too. We played against each other a lot, so no one I was personally with, but people I played against a lot for sure. And that comes into travel ball, the exposure and the exposure you get. You never know, you could be playing against your future teammate too. So it's been really cool to be able to play with them now.
all right. So what has the experience been early on in your career? You're just a freshman this year. What has that experience been like in that transition into college?
I mean, it's definitely it's been different. It's all a blessing for sure. I'm just really grateful. The coaching staff here, the players here, they've taught me so much. And I'm really just working my butt off, doing as best as I can to kind of give back to them. They've taught me so much. So hopefully I can at least maybe teach them or, give them some hope and some gratitude in the team. It's definitely hard. It's a lot to handle, but I still love the sport. So I'm gonna continue to push myself to my limit to, for the team.
All right. So I know for the young athletes, some have had opportunities, may have opportunities to talk to other athletes that have gone on to play in college. But for the young one who has no idea, what is training like? Like school start, when did school start for you? And then when did the training process start? And what does that training schedule look like in college?
Yeah, so I believe training starts maybe a week or two before school, and then school starts and you kind of go on with that. Um, for us, like an average week would be you're lifting 3 times a week, you're practicing about 4 to 5, you get an off day. And you in the fall it's you practice in the morning for about, depends on the day, maybe 2 3 hours, and then you have your classes in the end of the day. And then in the spring, when it's real game times, that's when you're traveling a lot, so it gets a little bit more hectic. But I will say it's definitely a hard schedule, but you have so many people here that are in your favor. We have our academic advisors that are basically pushing us and giving us all the resources we can, the tutoring, everything. So your academics are really taking care of your coaches. They're going to take care of you. It's a rigorous schedule, but it's also a rigorous staff. So, it evens out, and we definitely get a lot of help here too. So, if you want to do it, you have the opportunity and the people to do it.
All right. I know it's early for you, but I'll ask, and this is again just little nuggets for the young person that may be watching. If you can talk to your younger self, what are some things you can do, maybe your junior, senior year of high school, to kind of better prepare you for what you're now experiencing as a freshman in college?
Um, I think just taking it all in, obviously high school, if it comes down to it, it is the perfect preparation for your college career. You get 4 years, you're on a team with the same teammates, same school. It's really like it's your mini college years. That's kind of how I think of it. So taking it in, learning how to operate with the team, how to fight for a position, and how to be a better teammate. Learning things that go deeper than the game is really gonna help you and strive to become a better athlete for a college program. There's a lot more to just softball, and there's a lot more that college coaches look at more than stats. So keeping that in mind and just taking it all in because it goes by really fast, you know.
All right. So, what were some of your most memorable moments in high school as a high school athlete?
Um, I definitely say so. I was a transfer. I went to 2 years of South Plantation and then I transferred to Doral Academy. So that was a big change for me in itself. Just being able to, get close with the girls and honestly, some of the most memorable moments I had were just being with the team. Nothing to do with the softball aspect, just seeing how, the person next to me is fighting for the same position, but she's also my biggest supporter. So that's just really like, it's really something you learn and something that I'm really grateful I got to be a part of. And it taught me a lot. So just seeing how, especially at a young age, you're only in high school. So, girls, things could be difficult, but it was just such a blessing to be a part of that team and see how well we mesh together.
All right. All right. So, you talk about your sister being a coach. Is that something you can see yourself doing at some point?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully if all goes to plan, hopefully I have the opportunity to. I give lessons a little bit now and there when I can. I just love, being able to give back. It's something that my sister's very, very passionate about. And something that, if I have the opportunity to, I would love to just be able to get out there and help whoever's needing it.
That's good. That's good. So we talked about travel ball, we talked about middle school, high school, but you were able to represent on another team. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes. So for the Puerto Rican national team, that is just like I'm so grateful that I was able to be part of that. I got to play with some people that I literally watched on TV as a little girl. Like it was just a crazy experience. My parents and my sister also had the opportunity to go out there with me. So it was crazy. It was a lot to take in as a 17-year-old. Playing with grown women that had so much knowledge to share with me about the game. I would definitely say that was a staple for me in my career. I learned so much and it was such good exposure for me. Um, and it was great. It changed me as an athlete for sure. And I'm so blessed that I was able to be there.
That's good. That's good. So I just want to ask, like, first we'll touch it. We'll go back there, and with that a little bit more on that experience. But I just want to ask, what are some things that Yessenia does outside of the game for fun and to really enjoy yourself?
Yeah. So me, in the sport, I'm very intense, very focused. But outside the sport, I'm very laid back. I like to go to the movies with my roommates. Me and my roommates, we do fun things all the time. And my team and my teammates, thankfully, we're really close, so we like to hang out all the time. We just go to dinner, just do really simple things. We have movie nights sometimes in our dorm. Very relaxed, simple things that we love to hang out with each other and just have a good time. Honestly.
All right, that's good. So, what are some of your goals? I guess first we'll touch on the sports aspect. What are some of your goals? Are you looking forward to representing Puerto Rico some more, years to come, or what are some of your goals that you set early for your college career? What are some of your goals you have in the sport?
Yeah, as far as Puerto Rico, hopefully I have the opportunity to be with them in the Olympics when that comes in 2028. As far as UCF, uh, we've gone through a lot already so early in the season, and I've learned so much. So I'm just trying to take in as much as I can from the coaching staff. My head coach, Coach Bear, she was an amazing pitcher, and me being a pitcher, just taking as much from her, taking from the pitching staff. Honestly, my goal, my first season out, is just to learn absolutely as much as I can, become the best I can this year, and just work my butt off for my team and be the best version I can for them.
All right. All right. So for the young pitcher, what are some things that you've learned to do from high school on to your early time in college, just in preparing yourself and staying healthy and practicing and really growing in your position?
Yeah, definitely the preparation and the time it takes to, become, an elite athlete. In high school is when I definitely, got really into that. Taking my practice serious, taking my bullpens very serious. And just taking care of my body. You're going through so much strain from the traveling, and in high school, you're playing at least 2 games a week. So I really got into taking care of my arm, taking care of my body, as much stretching, mobility, things that, you're so young, you think you can handle it all. And I definitely did think I could handle it all, but your body is your money maker, in this sport. And that is something that you need to be healthy and as healthy as possible at all times. So I definitely got really into that in my high school years.
All right. And so many young athletes, some learn early and some don't learn until they get into high school or college. But for the young person, what are some things that you've been able to also do? Because so many young athletes feel like everything is physical and there's a mental aspect to it. So what are some things you've learned to do over the years to really, help yourself grow mentally, and keeping the confidence that you need in the sport? What are some things that you've been able to use as tools?
Yeah, this is definitely something I feel really strongly about. Being an athlete, it's so much adversity you're gonna face. And kind of like I said before, just going back to your why, grounding yourself. Um, Confidence is something that comes from preparation. So that taking your training serious, and also just in those times when you're just struggling, just really leaning into your teammates. You can't do it without them. So especially I was so blessed to have a really great team and teammates that really cared for me. So I just really leaned into them in the times that I needed them, and just talking things out, pushing them to be better, pushing me to be better. That was really something that was a staple for me too.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about your life when it comes to the academic side. Like what are some things you've been able to let me see what question I want to ask. Um I guess let me ask this first. What are you majoring in?
So right now I'm in business marketing.
Okay.
Hopefully I can stay in that for a little bit too.
All right. And do you have some goals outside of the sport that you want to kind of utilize that major for? Or are you still kind of trying to figure out, things outside of the game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure some things out with that. I definitely, I love the marketing aspect of it, and being an athlete, it is really good because I get to kind of use that for myself and market myself. So I really want to keep up with that. Just learning as much as I can about that. I think that's a great aspect to have, and after I graduate, when softball does end up becoming no longer part of my life, it's a great tool to have.
All right. So, do you have any advice that I asked that question knowing that you're very early in your process, but I thought it was so awesome. In the past years, we've had guests that were in their last year and some, was still trying to figure it out. And I think it's important. I thank them for being so transparent because so many young athletes have that pressure, or even athletes who are gone on into their last and final year have that pressure of, man, I haven't figured it out yet. So, like, what are some things? Do you have any advice for the young athlete? Like, what are some things you look at when as you're early in this process, trying to say, hey, what are some things I would like to do outside of the game? Are there some things you kind of look at and utilizing as a measure when trying to, kind of think about that at an early stage?
Yeah, that's definitely something I wish I could go back on. I definitely thought softball was everything, and it's gonna come to an end, and you're gonna have to move on with your life and get into your career. So that's why I think it was so important that I had the resources I did and at my academics, because it pushed me to continue with them and figure out what I wanted to do. And I'm still figuring that out. I think just to like kind of taking a step back and realizing like you put so much time and so much focus into your sport, and kind of trying to translate that into your academics and into what you want to do for when it all kind of comes to an end in your sport too. So just kind of putting the same amount of focus you do in both is really important, especially at a young age, because if there's no better time to start than now.
All right, all right. So as we're getting pretty close to the end, just if you're talking to a group of young softball players, like what would be some advice you would give them in just preparing to be a complete person? So whether it's the sport or even in their personal lives, what would be some advice that you give that young athlete?
Yeah, I think taking everything for kind of what it is, your sport, your academics, your life, all those things, just realizing how much of a blessing it is. Like, not everybody gets to experience it, and just taking what you have and doing absolutely everything you can with it, as much as you're given, as little as you're giving, making the absolute most of everything you do. How you do anything is how you do everything. So, finding that balance between all those things in your life, and just being grateful, having that gratitude, and just really pushing forward for everything.
That's good. That's good. So, two questions I always love to ask as we round up the end of the show. And the first one being, how important is it to have positive people in your circle?
Yeah, I think that's one of the number one reasons why I am as far as I've come today. Honestly, like I said, my sister being my coach, my teammates, my staff at this school, that's something in all the questions that I've mentioned, and it is because I genuinely wouldn't be able to make it as far as I did, without them. So realizing who has that positive impact on you and who has your best interest in mind is going to be so important for you as an athlete, especially, and even as a person. And just surrounding yourself by people who want the best for you at the end of the day.
That's good. And so, our last and final question we always ask, who or what is it that inspires you most in life?
I would say, kind of what inspires me most in life. Just kind of, coming from a family who, we moved away from all of our family. We kind of we're a little bit kind of by ourselves, and just seeing how we've grown into such a big part of so many people's lives kind of inspires me, as an athlete to just realize, like, I know to me things might seem small, but to the athletes, watching me, like, they see me as if I'm on the biggest stage, and to me I kind of take that for granted sometimes. So realizing, like, what you have is someone else's, like, golden treasure. So, like, I kind of just remind myself of that, honestly. Like, that just inspires me to just push forward and just be so grateful for what I have, because to the athletes younger than me, they don't see it as that. I see something as a struggle, and they see it as a blessing. So, kind of flipping that mindset really helps me.
Well, we thank you, Yessenia, for joining us for another episode of Out and Up. We appreciate you being with us and the great information that you've been able to share with us.
Yes, it was such an amazing time here. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Well, y'all know I say at every show, it is good to be great in the sport that you're playing, but it's even better to be great in life. So, like every show I say, it means nothing if you just hear the words that's being said. It's more important that you apply it to your everyday life and into the sport that you're playing. So once again, we thank you for joining us. We'll see you next episode as we continue to go out.